Cimoooooooo!
What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Today I wanted to do a little card discussion on Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer. Now, I know Jonathan Moore on House of Champions did a video on this card about a week or so ago, if I had to give or take, but I've been playing up against a couple of Kycoos recently, and I was kind of curious to really see how good this card is against the meta. I didn't really have any doubts. Like, I saw the practical application of Kycoo, but man, when you go up against Kycoo in this meta, fuck me, this card is a pain in the ass. So let's go ahead and get into why that is. Just base stats wise, it's a level 4 spellcaster, 1800 attack, dark attribute, so it has a lot of very good stat typing. It's a dark, so you got synergy there. Spellcaster, so it's really good for pendulums. 1800's a really good body. And the effect is that when it inflicts battle damage, you banish 2 monsters out of your opponent's grave. But more importantly, as a continuous effect, when it's on the field, your opponent cannot banish cards. Now that is fucking huge, because banishing in this meta is so important. And the fact that Kycoo just basically locks your opponent out of doing that is incredible. You guys all know how I love Necro Valley, which it's a pretty fair comparison to Kycoo, just kind of like in monster form, I guess. Necro Valley is probably a little bit more all-encompassing when it comes to the banishing mechanic, but Kycoo's still a really good option. I'm going to tell you why. So, especially for the Pendulum deck, because the Pendulum deck already runs a bunch of spellcasters anyway, so again, the synergy's there, but the fact that you can just Pendulum summon out a Kycoo with everything else that you pendulum, like some Kirins, like anything, the second that Kycoo hits the board, you're just fucked if you're playing anything that requires banishing. It's like when someone drops Denko Sekka on you, when they like draw Denko, they ask if you can go to main phase 1 if you have anything, and then you drop Denko, and then you're just like, oh fuck, like because you forgot that, you know, Denko's a thing. Kycoo acts in the same way because there's so many good things that you can banish in the game currently, and when a Kycoo gets dropped on you, you're just fucked, because that continuous effect is in play, and you can't do anything. So, just some of the good things that it stops. So, Kycoo versus Monarchs, for instance. While Kycoo's on the field, you can't banish Eidos to summon Edia and kind of keep that loop going. You can't banish Prime from your graveyard to special summon it. You can't banish Pantheism to be able to search and keep, you know, your whole engine going. And probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing in all of Monarchs, it stops your opponent from being able to summon Ether on your turn, because they have to banish for the Ether's cost to be able to summon it, and if they can't banish, Ether can't hit the field. So being able to stop Ether is so incredibly good, on top of everything else I've already mentioned. So if that wasn't enough, you know, Ether's kind of the icing on the cake, or I guess the monarch on the throne, if you will. Moving on, but it's as good as it is in Monarchs. I would probably say it's best against Monarchs. It's also good against some other decks too. Look at PK Fire. PK Fire, they've got all the Phantom Knight cards that are banishing themselves to be able to add and recur more resources. So if you play that, they can't do anything, which means that it's going to stop all the traps. So if you're trying to go in for an OTK, they can't banish the traps to special summon any monsters to wall up, or they can't use it to recur any of the traps from the monster effects, or vice versa, anything like that. So being able to stop that train of resources is really, really key. You can also use it against Cosmo as well, albeit it's a little bit more limited in Cosmo, mainly because the pilots can still tag out to special summon, because your opponent just can't banish cards from the graveyard. They can still banish cards elsewhere, so they can still just tag out a pilot and just special summon it. So that's really, you know, then if they play a Dark Destroyer or anything over 1800, I mean, your Kycoo's just pretty much fucked anyway. But it can be kind of good depending on the circumstance. Like, say for instance you summon Kycoo and then drop Regeki like on a field of ships. Like, okay, that's really, really good. But again, probably not as good against Cosmo, but it's still another really good application. So, just wanted to kind of do, I guess, a little bit of a follow-up video to, you know, House of Champs discussion on Kycoo, because Kycoo's a really incredible card, and I didn't even get into its other effects, that when it actually does damage, you get to banish monsters from your opponent's graveyard, and that's huge. Like, going back to Monarchs, if you can actually hit them, which isn't hard because they won't have a monster on the field more than likely if they can't Ether, and if they can't Prime, they can't protect themselves, so getting in that 1800 is fairly easy. you can banish all of their best cards. So you can banish Erebus, so it can't recur itself from the grave. You can banish Red Layer, so same thing, they have another one. You can banish the Squires, so they can't get those back. You can banish Ether, so they don't get it back from an Erebus. Like, just being able to banish all of their monsters on top of the fact that they already can't banish is just fucking amazing. So I really like the spicy tech. It's really cool. And I just want to know what your guys' thoughts were as well, because it's a pretty cool card. It's not like obviously like game breaking, like oh my god this is going to win you the game. Granted, there are a lot of better cards that do that, but it's a really nifty card and it's very versatile as well in its application. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching the video. We'll see you next time. Cimoooooooo!